I am here as a member of the Black Allied Law Students Association to introduce Umi Selah. Umi is a co-founder, mission director, and organizer at the Dream Defenders, an organization dedicated to ending youth incarceration in Florida by the year 2022. Since 2012, the Dream Defenders have organized to fight against police brutality, mass incarceration, and the way in which state-sponsored systems isolate and alienate us from one another. Umi, this brother, is not just a truly inspiring orator, but a warrior, really, a movement leader in the fight for freedom and liberation. So please join me in welcoming Umi Selah.
Okay, good evening. Okay, we're gonna try it again. Good evening. Okay, so I'd like to begin with the caveat that I am no expert on this subject. And I have the honor and privilege to speak before you all as the co-director of an organization. I co-direct with an amazing organizer who did a lot of great organizing in New York City named Rachel Gilmer. I also serve on a team with a training and membership director named Jonelle Edwards, a communications and culture director named Stephen Pargett, and a new field director that we just brought on named Chardonnay Singleton. And so I have the honor of standing with them in this fight and learning more about this huge behemoth, this monster that we want to eliminate. And also am in awe and honored to be in a room amongst people that we respect, that we're inspired by, people who, frankly, their words have been a big part of our strategic planning processes. And so it's really an honor for me to be here. I'm also the last person that stands between you all and a really riveting dialogue where we can stop the monologue part of this thing. And so I'm going to try to make my comments very concise, very brief, speak to what I know to the best of my ability. And if it seems a little disjointed, it's because I'm trying to give you all some information that already hasn't been presented, which is an arduous task. Because the people before me really have laid out the landscape, the huge thing that we're up against, the monster in our nightmares that we've let creep into the homes of our children, our family members, right? And they've also laid out a compelling vision of the future. And so what I'll do is speak a little bit about some random thoughts that I got, some random thoughts that we have as an organization in hopes that they would maybe wrap this and get to the best part of the evening. So, you know, when I heard that I was going to be in front of some lawyers, I said, how can I start this thing off with something that really these folks know nothing about? And so I decided to start it off with the Constitution. All right? And it begins, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that to establish these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their power from the consent of the governed. That any form of government that should destroy it is the duty of the people to abolish it, to alter it, or to abolish it. And so when people talk about abolition as a radical, newfangled thing, as something that has never been talked about or discussed, you could tell them, read the Constitution. This is an American thing. This is our duty in this moment today as we talk about a system and a government in all of its forms that is destructive to the purposes that it was instituted to. It is our duty, right? It is our responsibility as a populace to alter it, and I would circle and underline, abolish it. We talked a little bit about the history of policing already, and I just want to add a little bit to the history of policing and how it manifested in our country. It started off as slave patrols down south with the goal of making sure that black people stayed in line or return to the plantation. Up north, it had a slightly different genesis. It was mostly volunteer. People did it, got drunk, decided that there was an issue, and they were called. But it became municipal for a very specific reason up north in cities like Boston and in New York and later in Chicago. And we've got to understand its connection to what happened down south. Well, back in those times, the two biggest crimes were public drunkenness and hanging out in brothels. And if you were spending the entire day getting drunk and your whole night in the brothel, you could not get your ass up for work. And so the corporations decided we got to do something about this. And so municipal police departments were formed. Also, there were strikes that would go on. People were unhappy with their working conditions. And we needed a way to handle, a way to maintain order in what a lot of corporate heads saw as chaos. And so private interest, corporations mandated, because they had been paying for the police before. It was on their tab to hire police to come break up strikes, come make sure that people went to work in the morning. But they lobbied to make it a public interest, to protect and to serve. It's in that context that we've got to understand why we cannot exist in a world with police, and why policing was never, ever, ever about protecting and serving not just black people, but poor people, the working class of this country, the immigrant community. It was never about that. It was about protecting the interest of the elites, whether you were a corporation up north or whether you were a plantation owner down south. And so we cannot exist in a world with police. For many people today, talking about the abolition of police is, well, I'll speak in Florida. It's crazy. It's when I go on a panel and I say, we don't even need the police. We need to get them out of the community. I'm always met by people afterwards that say, yo, bro, you were saying some real stuff up there, man, but how you really think we could live without police? It's kids murdering kids. Do you really think we can exist in a world without police? And so we've got a long way even to go to see these ideas, to talk about it. And so what I want to do, I'm a part of a little fellowship, a cultural organizing fellowship, and I want to run some things by you, not to discourage you, but to really examine whether you really want abolition, right? Whether you're just saying it because all your friends saying it, but you really are about abolition. I want you to imagine really quickly, I have this random idea for a movie, a Netflix movie. I don't think the theaters, I think Netflix will be the best place to do this. And it will open up, and you just imagine it. It's like 4 firefighters in a fire truck. And they're just riding around, and they're looking out the window, and they got their axes in their hand. And they see a guy, he's about to light a cigarette. And they hop out, and they knock the cigarette out of his hand. And he says, what? He said, you was about to start a fire, wasn't you? You was about to take out this whole block, wasn't you? And they throw him in jail. Imagine the same firefighters following a car, just riding behind a car, and somebody throws a cigarette out the window, and they pull the car over, and they say, you know what? Let me check your car for matches. Let me check your car for any incendiary devices. See, it would be a hilarious film, right? But you have to wonder why firefighters so well respected, so much a part of our public fabric, only come when you call them. But we condone a police force that sits and stays and occupies our communities, right? And so hopefully we could get some great actors for the film, and we could think of a great name, right? And we could pay for fire trucks and all of that. But you understand the point what we're talking about, right? We've got a whole culture shift that we've got to shift in the way people conceive policing today. So I'm gonna do my Drake style because my stuff is on my phone. I want to talk a lot about, because I said we're not experts in this, I want to talk a little bit about some of the questions that we're grappling with right now, some of the barriers that we're looking at as Dream Defenders, and I'll talk a little bit about what we want to do in seeding what we're in the cultural preparation phase of our strategy. How do we build to the place where abolition can be brought up and not conceived as crazy? Not just getting to abolition, how do we not look crazy when we talk about it? So here's our new way of life that we want. In our new way of life, most Floridians believe that all children, the source of our community's joy, energy, hope, and wisdom, should be protected, and it is therefore unconscionable for us to lock them away. So that's the vision of the world that we want to see, where people exhibit righteous indignation at a child, where in Florida we arrest children as young as 5 years old, where we put kids in jail with adults, Nalini knows, in Polk County, Florida, because it saves money, right? We've got to get from there to a place where it's inconceivable for you to put children in prison. I want to illuminate some other barriers. Maybe we could talk about them later. Here's one barrier. There's a belief that when we commit harm, it should be punished. And that is deeply ingrained in all of our culture, from family to church to school. So we've got to undergird even the belief that when a harm is done, that punishment should come. That's a big task that we've all got to grapple with before we can even talk about abolishing the police with the masses, right? Not with the room full of law students, with the masses of people. When your mother, if you get what I'm saying, as a child, you learn from a very young age if you did a bad thing. If you believe in God, if it's done in the dark, it will come to light. Spare the rod, spoil the child. So you see how the culture already embeds into us that punishment must come. A funny story, as black people, it's always funny when white people, when their kids did something wrong, they would sit them down and talk to them. And they would be like, what did you do? Was that bad? And you know what? I was examining that even today in our course. That as black people, my mom would be like, that's why them kids is bad. Because you didn't whoop them. You didn't punish them. And so we've got to question and interrogate even that concept with the people in our communities when you're talking about abolition. I have another barrier for you. There's not yet sufficient imagination or will within our communities. I'm talking about ours. I don't know about yours. To commit to the long, hard, emotional work needed to transform our public safety practices from punitive to transformative. Let me tell you, I've been a part of a number of circles, and it is hard. It is hard work. Everybody wants power with no responsibility. If the people in this room are going to go into communities and ask them to do something radically different, we have to all be prepared for the emotional work that it takes to hold that process. I've been in circles that wasn't about me and left figuring out that it was about me. I wasn't the perpetrator of the harm. I was there to support somebody else. But the circle process doesn't just mean that we find a way to still have a different way to burden the person who's harmed and the person who has had the harm done to them. But we as a community also look to ourselves and say, what did we do to contribute to this set of events? And then we all commit afterwards to a set of accountability measures with one another to ensure that we're able to hold this thing. We're also committing to hold somebody who might have done an atrocious thing. Because we're doing this because we're also undergirding the idea that when you do a wrong thing, you must be cast away. Walk the plank into the forest with you. We're saying we love you enough to stay here. And so we've got to interrogate whether we're truly ready. I believe we are. But these are questions that you must think about before we want to wade into the waters of abolition with everyday people who don't talk about this, who it's maybe more time, it may be way easier to call the police on that group of kids on the corner than it is to go out and start a process with them. These are the infrastructures that we've got to build. I've got another barrier I want to talk to y'all about. The belief that prisons, policing, and private businesses are the only efficient and effective means of handling wrongdoing is deeply ingrained and widely believed by many, not in this room, giving them higher spending priority than community initiatives. In the state of Florida, we spend 3 times as much money on incarcerating a child than we do to educate them. 100% of all of our prisons for young people are private. Every single one, from rehab to detention to incarceration to the ankle bracelets, all of it, to the phone calls, all of it is 100% private. We are the #1 state for school to prison pipeline. As I said before, we'll put a 5-year-old girl in prison and not think twice about it. We're the headquarters for the largest for-profit charter school. We're the headquarters for the largest for-profit youth prison. So our priorities right now in this system, in this capitalist neoliberal system, your money is your consent. And right now, our consent is being given hand over fist to the people who take and steal our children away from us. One more barrier. Transformative justice practices are not flawless. And the public has a low tolerance for justice alternatives that are perceived as less effective than the current system. We're not selling people utopia. Abolition, transformative practice, restorative justice is not perfect. There will inevitably be somebody who doesn't follow the rules set or the accountability measures set. And right now, the only effective way is prison. And so people are willing to excuse some of the mistakes that happened. That guy that got out, or that guy that stayed too long. But they still believe that it's the only alternative. And so if we're going to build an alternative movement, we actually have little room, right, for failures. The only way that we're going to be able to contend with that is if we're building a grassroots movement of people who are practitioners at barbershops, at churches, at schools, in classrooms, at fraternity houses, sorority houses, right? Who are willing, right? Who understand the greater purpose of this thing, who are willing to grapple and defend its imperfections in lieu of this greater purpose. And so we've got a lot of work to do. This is a privilege to be here. We always know that. We throw around that word, but we know that. It's warm too, you know? We're inside. We're having a discourse about something that can be built, that can shake the very foundations of this country. But when you go outside, we've got to consider a lot of different things. And there's a lot of cultural preparation work that has to be done to see the flower of abolition, right? And so that's the work that Dream Defenders is engaged in right now. That's why we're not experts, because we're actually beginning the process of a dialectic in 3 neighborhoods in Florida. We picked 3 neighborhoods in Florida. It's a neighborhood strategy right now. These places, one of the places we chose is 65% black, 35% Latino. Check the demographics. These people are poor. Half of their city, they got a charter. Half of their city is under federal indictment. One of their commissioners just ran into the tree and killed himself after he got an indictment. These are people who are in need of an alternative. And we go door to door, and you cannot tell them that we want to end the police state here. Right? Because the police just got all of the commissioners who was robbing us. And so we've got a lot of work to do before we're able to really fully engage in the work of abolition. And I don't mean this as a time to push brakes or to damper the excitement of this moment. This is truly what a time to be alive, right? But everyone in this room has to examine and interrogate really the nuance of the deep programming that not only we're working to undo, myself too. I don't know what level of crime I'll let be perpetrated against me, and I'll sit down with them. And so we've got a lot of work when we get out of this room to think about and examine the programming that happens before we either fetishize or we demean the people outside. We've got to do a lot of work to understand what makes them move, figure out what interventions we can put in place now in order to build a movement for abolition. We chose youth incarceration as the first goal of ours for the next 6 years because of that. We feel like there's still a piece of America that believes that children should be protected. Black children are never children. And so we've got to do a lot of work in working on even that programming if we're going to build a statewide or a national movement around abolition. I want to end with this one quick thing. It's a poem that I love. It's by Martin Espada. It's called Imagine the Angels of Bread, okay? Real quick. I gotta hold up my right hand. All right. This is the year that squatters evict landlords, gazing like admirals from the rail of the roof deck, or levitating hands in praise or steam in the shower. This is the year that shawled refugees deport judges who stare at the floor at their swollen feet as files are stamped with their destination. This is the year that police revolvers, stove hot, blister the fingers of raging cops, and nightsticks splinter in their palms. This is the year that dark-skinned men, lynched a century ago, return to sip coffee quietly with the apologizing descendants of their executioners. This is the year that those who swim the border's undertow and shiver in boxcars are greeted with trumpets and drums at the first railroad crossing on the other side. This is the year that the hands pulling tomatoes from the vine uproot the deed to the earth that sprouts the vine. The hands canning the tomatoes are named in the will that owns the bedlam of the cannery. This is the year that the eyes stinging from the poison that purifies toilets awaken at last to the sight of a rooster-loud hillside, pilgrimage of immigrant birth. This is the year that cockroaches become extinct, that no doctor finds a roach embedded in the ear of an infant. This is the year that the food stamps of adolescent mothers are auctioned like gold doubloons, and no coin is given to buy machetes for the next bouquet of severed heads in coffee plantation country. If the abolition of slave manacles began as a vision of hands without manacles, then this is the year. If the shutdown of extermination camps began as imagination of a land without barbed wire or the crematorium, this is the year. If every rebellion begins with the idea that conquerors on horseback are not many-legged gods, that they too drown if plunged in the river, this is the year. So may every humiliated mouth, teeth like desecrated headstones, fill with the angels of bread.